Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. You've come across the least SEO podcast on the planet. I hope you enjoy it. All right, so welcome to Confessions of an SEO Mountain Edition 2024. I'm coming to you from Western North Carolina on the second episode of the summer. I had another topic prepared for this week, but at the last minute, and against my better judgment, I read an SEO Roundtable article that was clearly in response to both my analysis on the sites hit with the helpful content system that use table of content links and plugins. The public announcement, it also talked about the announcement of an SEO who had published his removal of the table of contents plugin and all the jump links that it would have produced, and attributed its removal to the site's recovery of traffic as proof that my study of those types of sites would do better to remove whatever was producing those links. Now, if you haven't already listened to episode 22, it's called What's Canonical Got to Do with It? In it, I shared my observation that if you've got a site that has a specific site pattern, please notice the details are what matters. And you notice this pattern in Search Console, high on the left, low on the right, between late spring and September 2023 helpful content update. And, this is the and, if you're using a plugin to create what I clearly agree are helpful things for readers, these table of contents at the top of your articles, it is my analysis that the Google helpful content system has not been your friend. I'm not going to waste my time doing a point-by-point rebuttal to the article. And I'm not going to waste your time either. What this is going to be is a rebuttal to the current tendency for SEO people to rely on, and you can hear the air bunnies coming up now, fast food SEO. Now, that phrase is not original to me. It comes from a review of my helpful content guide, which is the only non-Google analysis of what helpful content targets. Anyway, Daniel Cook, who is an SEO over in the UK, and is the first one who I know used this phrase, fast food SEO. Let's use it in a sentence. Actually, let's read what Daniel wrote. Discounting this work shows a lack of nuance of thinking that comes from too much consumption of the fast food SEO material that most of our industry consumes too much of. Now, I want to talk about that consumption, and also to literally wag my finger at those who rely on what others say about something instead of going to primary source. I may be showing my age, but when I was in school, we couldn't get by with quoting derivative material. At the time, clickbait was a thing of the future, I suppose, but in our industry, it just feels a bit like we could do a lot better. And let me put a fine point on this. One, we have to want to do better, right? The incentives have to be, I believe, for truth. We can't just not want to do better. We have to in order to take in new information. And also, too, we have to accept that our assumptions might not be serving our search for truth that actually helps people. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of done with the current presumption that if you're a better SEO, or that somehow you're a better SEO as you rise up into an organization, but never really get your hands dirty with a site. You know, that kind of stuff is for the lower paid staff. I had a very interesting, enlightening conversation with someone a while back when I worked at a more corporate operation. They wanted me to take on more of a managerial role, spend less time working within the sites, solving and, identifying problems to solve that other people could actually solve, and more time telling other people what to look for. And then, of course, I would be available for more time in meetings about meetings, talking about what the others were looking for. Now, I get it. That's probably the smart way to advance, but it's not for me, and I told him so. For whatever we think about Christopher Columbus, in 1492, he was out on a damn ship. He was not an executive explorer staying in Spain. I'm not trying to compare myself to Christopher Columbus, but there is a mindset, I believe, that has to be adopted when new information comes into an ecosystem. And every industry has an ecosystem, and SEO is no exception. But the mindset, of course, there needs to be an element of the skeptic, right? But that same admittance of the skeptic also needs to put aside whatever other people say or other things they think they know, and even consider what assumptions they have brought to the edge of something new or a new way of looking at things. You might say, well, give me an example. What in this case would be, assumptions? All right. First thing, people believing that what they hear from other people, even those they may highly trust, as more valuable than what they can glean from original source. All right. Let's just put that there. Here's another one. People believing that Search Console provides everything that Google uses to deal with our content. Things like the canonical attribution system, that somehow Google will show in search results everything related to the canonical, and that if it's broken and I can't provide a screenshot of a jump link within a search result, then my analysis has no merit. Let's see if we can break that apart a little bit by looking at something else. Let's see, what's another system we don't see? Yes, protocol buffers. If you don't know what those are, that's really a cool way that Google sort of translates all of everything into HTML in order to deal with our content, to understand our content. Okay, do we see protocol buffers that Google creates to understand our content? No. We can guess, or we can build what we think, they can see based on the patents and other things that are shared, but our guesses are not original source. They do not come from Google. Do we see the 20 most recent versions of our content within that collection of protocol buffers? What Google actually noted in that leaked Google API document? No, not to my knowledge. Does not seeing them mean that they aren't important to the process of indexing, ranking, and serving? I'm just going to say nope right there. Does not seeing them mean that they don't exist? Nope. What's missing from the responses in what people are tweeting about, posting about, writing about is the full context. That's what I mean by looking at things through fast food SEO eyes. It's not one thing. The insistence that everything related to SEO be one thing is killing our ability to pursue actual information that can inform our fucking work. SEO is never one thing. Why would a forensic analysis be different? Now I'm going to shift this a little bit, rant over. What brought me joy about this whole conversation are those that sent me messages, but they don't want, to out themselves. Now, for some, it has been a tragic footnote to their income and their work. I will not out them either. I feel for their plight. I only wish I could have put these things together sooner. That's my only regret. But I'm enormously grateful to those who have, and I believe who will, come forward in the future to share the results once maybe they're a little more confident. All of these sites were decimated after Search Console was showing impressions going up. No one thought that jump in impressions was a bad sign. More impressions is always good. Note another assumption. Google's helpful content system was crawling for over a year, learning about our sites and all the content out there. They confirmed after the March core update, they got rid within their findable index more than they expected. They expected to get rid of 40% of what they called low value content. Now, part of forensic SEO and SEO testing is always asking, when you're looking at something, what else, maybe even other than the thing I'm testing for, but what else could have caused this result? One of the sites that I was able to examine has been under my microscope for over 6 months. In their case, like the others, the percentage of losses, loss in impressions, clicks, traffic, revenue, was in the high 90s. If you don't understand what the helpful content system, which is now part of the core algorithm, the thing that when we run a core update now, it's not helpful content is not a separate update. It's now baked in. You might think this canonical issue is not related to the helpful content, but then I believe without a doubt that you would have missed the forest for the trees. So if you can, picture little balloons inside one really large balloon. Let's just call that a graphic image of a working canonical system. There are little parts, but they're all wrapped up in the canonical attribution balloon. Now, if we are in a helpful content policed SERPs, which we are, and that the helpful content classifier is taking measurements of our site's focus and tagging content that is either too far or maybe too many of the exact same topic node and tagging that content as unhelpful. Because you know that the helpful content system is judging based on visitor expectation, not experience, because visitor behavior is part of another part of the algorithm, but it is not part of the helpful content system. So you put those restrictions in place. And briefly or long term, I don't know. I can't see on that side, but the canonical attribution system breaks. And maybe it breaks and still crawled a good part of the index. Maybe that part of the index where they like to keep the e-commerce or blogging stuff. Maybe they practiced on those sites. I don't know. But picture that and imagine that some within that data set were also using table of content plugins. So you remember that large balloon with the little ones inside? Picture that breaking. And now all those little balloons are on their own and they're getting judged as individual URLs without any attribution to a canonical other than themselves. Now, between those two conditions, that's one way to explain logically how we're seeing what we've seen, seeing people who've lost their livelihoods, let's say if they only had one egg in their baskets, and those that could wait it out until something else came along were kind of the lucky ones. I salute the lucky ones, the ones that just want an answer to what has pained them for the past year. I hope that your courage shows those who maybe are not so lucky to go ahead and maybe try something different. I salute you, your courage, not to believe me, but to try it and then believe your own eyes. Even if it's only a few people, it's been worth it to me to speak out. I don't mind people debunking it, as long as they're debunking it with data and not with what someone else thinks I said, or what someone else thinks I said, or on assumptions that I cannot possibly accommodate. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Next week episode, I guess maybe what I'll do is do what I was going to do this week. I don't know. Anyway, to stay on the cutting edge of the state of indexing, check out Crawl or No Crawl on Substack. And again, if you think you have a site that's been hit by the helpful content system, please reach out to me, confessions@AmericanWayMedia.com. We're building up a potential sort of historical documentation of what has happened, because I think eventually when people really figure out and are happy to consider what helpful content's actually targeting, they will create content that will no longer be tagged as unhelpful. And then it will be like nobody remembered this time at all. The way right now when I talk to you about the Penguin update of 2012. Anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you for being a listener. If you have questions or topic ideas, I do want to hear from you. I have a text number. You can just shoot me a little message, 512-222-3132. Thanks again, and until next week, I'll see you in the SERPs.